Hello everyone, welcome to Diecast Calls. This is my YouTube channel that will be informative, fun, exciting, and to give you an idea of, hopefully, weekly unboxing of Hot Wheels, Redlines, Black Walls, mostly vintage Hot Wheels. And then we're going to sprinkle in vintage Matchbox, which would include your thin walls, some steel wheels, super fast, all different varieties. And for the most part, the goal here is to present material of very high quality cars that you can just sit back and enjoy. This is a channel for you to grab a cup of coffee, maybe some tea, iced tea, your favorite beverage, and just relax and enjoy the unveiling of really, a trip down memory lane, something you can enjoy and enjoy with me, because I used to do this by myself. I'd get a box of toys in, I would open the box up by myself and hoot and holler, and and now it's it's open to you, for you to enjoy. So what I want to do is introduce you to the channel, which is this one. It's called, again, Diecast Calls, and I'm Jim. And part of the reason I'm doing this too is I'm always looking for collections, always looking to purchase, I'm looking to trade, I'm looking to swap, I'm looking to sell, I'm looking to collect, and to share in the joy of the hobby. And one of the things that came up recently was a collection that included some German blisters, some German cards, Hot Wheel vintage, and this first one being a scooper. Unfortunately, the collection included these German blister packs, but unfortunately they were cut. So what we have here is, I'm not proficient in the German language, but I can tell you by looking at this as an example, the listing of the models on the card. Jackrabbit you're familiar with, the Redline, Swinging Wing, etc. But look at the names of the German heavyweights. The Cement Mixer, as an example. The Kiplaster. Very, very interesting that you would have an opportunity to look at and to enjoy what I'm enjoying, and that is the blisters in language that I'm not familiar with. Let's take a look. This is a beautiful scooper. The color, you can see there, I'm sort of turning it in the light, giving an idea of the quality, the clarity. Everything is original. Scooper looks like in a lime color. Super shiny base, of course, as you would expect. Plastic button. It does say scooper. That's a scooper. The next one that came in the collection is the sanitary truck. Department of Sanitation is in English, but again, as you'll notice by looking closely at the blister, you'll see the words explaining, describing, creating the excitement of a Redline. And then here's the back. Again, look at the names of the cars. And interesting. Printed in Germany. So that was a very, very exciting find. There's a couple of blister packs there. And then something that you're familiar with here in the States. This was the Farbs, and that was created, I believe, 1971. Sure, yeah, 71, 72 on Smile at Them, but don't feed them oil. Of course, you're talking about lubricating the tires, etc. But there's a mile ahead. Again, the cut card, unfortunately, but you had a fresh specimen inside there with the goggles. Sometimes it's tough to find with goggles. This one does have the goggles in there. Along with the collection was a couple of loose models. This one you're familiar with, the Redline. Beautiful shape. And this will be really indicative of the type of cars and the castings that you can expect from Die-Cast Calls, the site that I've created, for you to enjoy the absolutely gorgeous, in this case, enamel, the enamel paint. Plastic base, of course. Gun bucket. Usually, you'll find these over time have succumbed to, not only played with, but in some cases that they were placed in the trays, the collector trays, and they would get scuff marks because if you looked at the edges would be rubbing against the trays, in and out of the tray, in and out of the tray, and over time it would show wear marks. And some people will say, well, that's play wear. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes they were never played with. And here's a great example of a very, very clean gun bucket. Yeah, along with that, some of your more familiar 1968s. Of course, is the Silhouette. This has got some toning to it. Are you familiar with toning? Where the metal finish reacts with the paint over time. Of course, I mentioned this is a 68. This is the original, one of the original 16s, and that means it's you're somewhere in the 52, 53-year-old toy. Some were marked because mom or dad had put a marking on the bottom to signify whose car that was. Silhouettes were made both in United States and in Hong Kong. And what's tough about Silhouettes is finding them with a nice clean roll bar and a very clean nose. You want them nice and clean. A little mark right there. But this is for you to enjoy what is a box opening, and the future videos will actually show the box, when it comes in, and we'll open it up together, and we'll go through the cars for the first time together, and you can enjoy the excitement that I enjoy when I get a new box of toys. That's why I'm always looking for a nice car to bring home, a nice collection, if you will. I collect 10, I collect 50. I picked up a collection of 250 cars not that long ago, and in beautiful, beautiful condition. This is a great example. Another one from the original 16, a Python. You recognize that, right? This is a deep, deep red Python. Again, very vulnerable to markings along the front edge. The most vulnerable points that would have rubbed against not only the trays, but maybe some things that were, was hitting up against. You want a nice clean roof, matted paint there. The pipes are different depending on where the car came from and what version. This particular one, as you can see, Python, this is a 68 base, 1968, and it's got some shine to the base as well as what we call that gunmetal appearance, that bluish, if you will. Sometimes they'll get, due to the environment, due to handling, due to humidity, all kinds of factors can affect what we call tarnish on the casting itself. Another original 16 is the Custom Firebird. I like to find them with a nice clean front, the grille nice and black, the black matte on there. This is happened to be an olive, nice olive. You can tell that it is a Hong Kong casting because The glass has got that bluish tinge to it, and the steering wheel is black. It's a black steering wheel. As well as the chrome on the wheels. It's more chromy than it is like a US wheel. We'll go over that in a future video. The other very, very easily telltale reason or way to identify a Hong Kong casting versus US, a Hong Kong will have the 4 holes, if you will, on the bottom of the base, and that will show the actual axle, part of the axle system. This axle has some spring to it, right? So that axle is actually shown as it's tabbed into the bottom of the casting. It's a beautiful olive Firebird. Isn't that gorgeous? What a beautiful olive. Really, really nice to find them in this clean of condition. I'll put that down right there. And then the next one that we have is another original 16. This one is a beautiful copper custom Barracuda. Barracuda. Again, look at the telltale colors and attributes of the car. So there's your giveaway. It's got the bluish tinge, if you will, to the glass. You got the black steering wheel inside there. So what is that telling you? Chromy wheels, chrome around the Redline tires, and then there is the base. Sure, those 4 holes, and you can see the axles right through. It's a really nice example of a beautiful original 16, because Mattel, when they first manufactured, when they first came out with the Hot Wheels in 1968, they actually were in design in the early 66, 67. They released these cars in the original 16s. There are only 16 of them, right? And so the 16 included a very, very popular car, and that would be the custom Volkswagen. Now, the custom Volkswagen was also manufactured United States and in Hong Kong. This Volkswagen is a US. It's got the clear glass, so the clear glass versus the tinted blue. And the headlights, see the headlights there? Actually part of the cast. Whereas Hong Kong, the headlights would be part of the base. See the difference? I'll show you the difference sometime. We'll do some videos moving forward on the site, my site here called Diecast Calls, where a call, meaning a mail call, someone has called me, or you're being called to take a look at some exciting Spectraflame and enamels, as well as vintage black walls, which is the era right after Redlines from Hot Wheels, and a little bit before this popular time were Matchbox. I'll give you an example of that too, but I'm going to show you one more, a really, really popular original 16 car, and that would be the custom Corvette, right? So the blue is a common color. It's not that tough, but again, is this US or is it Hong Kong? Can you tell? See the clear glass? Steering wheel is not black. The wheels aren't real chromy. They're more of a dull silver. And there you go. Exactly. You're right. That's a US base. 1968 base right there. And also the taillights. There's a number of subtle differences between the Hong Kong casting and the US casting for these cars. The custom Corvette, like I just had mentioned, the custom Volkswagen, the Silhouette, the custom Barracuda, the Python, then the ones that we had just talked about. You know what? As long as you're talking about 16s, original 16, here's a nice little gem, the Beatnik Bandit. You recognize that, right? Is it US or is it Hong Kong? If you said US, you are correct. The clear bubble. And also the steering stick. It's a steering stick. It's not a steering wheel. The Hong Kong version is a little bit different casting. I'll go over that in a second, but the steering wheel is actually a steering wheel, like you would think like when you're driving a car. And the US casting of the Beatnik Bandit is actually, it's called a steering stick. And that's what that is. See that stick in there? Yeah. So the engine will be different between the Hong Kong and US. the front of it, the front profile will be slightly different. Beautiful, absolutely gorgeous green, dark green. The back will be different as well. The castings between this US and a Hong Kong, they will be different. This one is a 1968 base, and you'll notice that the patent included the name Ed Roth, because he was responsible for not only the design, but also they made this into a model, a plastic model that kids could build and play with, that kind of thing. So the last original 16 that in this particular video that I'd like to show you, as I'm putting these on the background here, is a real popular model, the Custom Camaro in orange. Look at the window. Look at the steering wheel. And look at the tires. So what would this be? US? Hong Kong? If you said Hong Kong, you are correct. This one is a 1967 base. And this was one of the first Mattel die casts of the Redline era, were the Camaros. And so because of the age and how long they've been on the market, played with, run down tracks, played outside on the sidewalk, stepped on, forgotten about, kept in storage, frozen, baked, they're tough to find. They're tough to find clean. I always like to open up the hood on these models and just kind of get a feel for, what's the status of the engine. Engine still has some life to it, meaning is it shiny? I always like to look at the grill. Is the grill nice and clean? What about the side paint? How's that side paint looking? Gorgeous. What a beautiful casting. What a walk down memory lane. Yep. Part of this whole hobby is about nostalgia, isn't it? Remembering those times when we played outside with our friends, with our Hot Wheels, the challenges, the tracks, the hours and hours and hours of playing with the imaginary cars that were the muscle cars of the day. Cars like this, cars like the Mustang. We talked about the Barracuda before. Talked about the Firebird, right? And the Corvette. All the popular muscle cars. Mattel was really on their game, weren't they? When they were deciding which models they were going to cast and to present to a young public who had been used to playing with their matchboxes and such. Heck, as long as we're talking about original 16s, why not? Little Ford J car here. What a beautiful olive example. Ford J car. You can tell it's got the original sticker. Sometimes you'll see this #1 sticker that the original owner, child, the young man, whatever was playing, would take that sticker and put it on. I've seen the #1 sticker on all different casting, all different casting models, how they would swap the sticker around, but there it is, original US. And what's really cool about this Ford J car, let's look at the base for a minute, just to kind of get a feel for, this is a 1967 base, which would mean it's what they call an early run. And how can you tell an early run on a Ford J car? Well, the hatch in the back opens up, and the hatch opens up all the way. Whereas later versions of the Ford J car, Mattel actually inserted a metal peg. See that little hole right there? The little indentation? There's actually a peg that's placed onto the casting, and so that you can't open up the back hatch any farther than that, as an example, but approximately that far. Because what was happening is that it was vulnerable to being actually pulled off by an aggressive child or by a unfortunate accident or circumstance that would cause the hatch to actually be broken off. All it is holding on to the hatch are those two little crimps right there. So it's a toy. You know, it isn't made to be non-destructible. It's not a Sherman tank. So that's a Ford J-Car original 16. Sometimes the hatch is a slightly different shade of color versus the rest of the car. This is an example of that, how that's just off a little bit. Very, very common with the hatch models, so to speak. And we'll do a video specifically about that in the future. But for right now, I wanted to thank you for joining me in my very first YouTube video of my new site called Diecast Calls. And we'll be doing this moving forward. I have so many beautiful, excellent castings and colors and features that I receive in what we call mail calls. You know, the mailman will call, they'll ring the doorbell, or they'll stop in your driveway and they'll bring a big package to your door. That's a mail call. So I'm calling this Diecast Calls because, you know, maybe the hobby calls you. It's called me. I love Redlines. I love the hobby, and I love to collect. So if you're ever looking to thin down the herd, so to speak, or you find a collection, I'd be very happy to look at that with you, for you, and be sure to keep a watch on the channel as we move forward and we offer such beautiful toys you can enjoy with me. And until then, we'll see you again. Goodbye.